Hey, Elie, nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
So it's funny, like you sent me a DM last week because I had started the first launch day and you said, hey, so in which batch am I? Because you were like of the early supporters back in last year when I announced this project, which I then didn't ship for 9 months. Uh, and so, yeah, so that was, I guess that's been a long time. Like how do you think about this?
What do you mean? How do I think about sort
No,
of
I mean,
launch?
like, how was it for you? Because I'm wondering, sometimes I feel bad, for everybody who paid and shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, I didn't really care so much. I mean, how much was it at the time? It was like 30.
29, 29.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I
Small
guess,
investment.
like
Yeah.
worst case scenario, like I wasn't expecting too much. So, yeah.
Okay. Well,
I
okay.
realized it was eventually going to launch anyway. So, I figured
Yeah.
I'd wait.
Good.
Obviously, following you on Twitter, seeing it was coming along, sometimes products take longer to launch. I know it's
Yeah.
become a little bit of a meme now, that it took you
Yeah.
so long to
Yeah.
launch.
Yeah. It did. It did. So actually, like, how do you work? I mean, first of all, like, how did you become an indie hacker? I'm just curious to know, like, your journey. Like, did you have a job before? Do you still have a job now? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, yeah. So it's funny. I've never had like a real job, which is sort of crazy. Like my background, I did a whole bunch of stuff, but like I was in serving in the IDF. I'm based in Israel in Tel Aviv, and I served in the IDF for 2.5 years. Like I did a computer science degree. After that, I went to the IDF, and that I finished at age 27. And so I
Yeah.
had like quite a late start to my career. I'm 36 now.
Okay.
But basically, I was working as a programmer in sort of the IDF and like after university. And in that period, I created this fantasy football game or soccer for Americans,
Okay.
and it went quite viral. Like in total, it's like 10 years old now, but it's had like over like 250,000 signups. And so this was happening like sort of, I was
Was it a
working in the
free
day.
free app?
Ye- Yeah, well, now it's paid. At the time, it was free. Yeah. It doesn't, despite having so many users or like historical signups, it doesn't make like a ton of money. It makes enough to keep going. It's like nice, like sort of
And
side
fantasy
income.
fantasy leagues things, it's really an American thing, I think. Right? It's really
Yeah, I mean, people. So this was for like the UK. Basically, I grew up in London, and I had like
okay.
friends in America, friends in London. Like, and we would play like. I basically brought the American style of fantasy football to the UK, basically, back in like 2014 or so. And one summer, like while like during my service, it just went viral. Like 20,000 people signed up in a month.
I see, I
Servers were
see.
crashing and everything. And
So you had
yeah,
your
like
first kind of like success, even though it didn't make a lot of money. It was a kind of like a glimpse of like lots of users, traction. So I guess it gave you confidence for trying something else.
yeah, exactly. I mean, from there, like we basically, after I finished my service, I was fully alone at the time. It grew to 20,000 users alone. Then I brought on a co-founder, another co-founder as well. We did like an accelerator in America. We did
Okay.
raise a bit of money for this. So we raised like, yeah, a few $100,000. But ever since then, basically, so I sort of stopped with that around 2018 time, but I've kept it running on the side anyway, like since then. So it brings me passive income enough to keep going. But yeah, basically after that, it was like anything I did, it was either like freelancing, I did freelance for a year or two for different clients, and then that sort of freelancing turned into its own business as well. And then since then, I've like run other businesses. Some of them
So
have
which
had
which
funding, and
business?
some of
I mean,
them not.
I'm just curious. Which
What?
like what business did freelancing lead to? I'm just curious.
So it led to like a freelancing business, basically like an agency.
Like
So
agency, you started hiring? Yeah.
yeah, like I would hire out freelancers. So it was more like if you're familiar with TopTal, like that sort of
Yeah.
model.
So
Uh,
just for people not knowing, top talent is like top talent. That's the name of like in a field. So you can hire, I guess, it's like vetted freelancers and an agency helping you, I guess, hire them, right?
yeah, exactly. So I was like TopTal, but like for Israeli companies and some US clients, but primarily like Israeli developers for the
Yeah.
Israeli market. And so that grew to around 15 active projects at its peak. I ran that for a few years. Also, that ran for a few years on the side as well. Now it's like very quiet. I don't have any active projects running, but for like the last 2 years till a few months ago, I always had sort of like passive projects where the
Yeah.
freelancers were working and I would just sort of get income from that just for having made the match.
Yeah, so kind of quite passive, not fully passive, because there's never really passive, like quite
Yeah.
passive
Well,
income from
this,
that.
I would say if you saw the business, like the last 3 years of it were like very, very passive. It was like literally just like sign a contract and then like collect money each month and pay the developer. It was really like very hands off. I would like, it could have been like less than an hour a week type thing, but
Yeah, okay.
less than an hour a month. So yeah, but both,
And
both
yeah.
these two businesses I mentioned actually, like this draft still exists and that is like very passive. Like it's like it runs on its own like the last 6 years or so.
Wow, okay. Awesome. And so how do we go from there to your current product? What's the journey?
Yeah, so I did like a few other things over the years in between and like different businesses, raised money for another business as well. And then when I was finishing with the last thing around 2 years ago, I was just spending like too much time on email. I was like, oh, it'd be great if I had an
Okay.
assistant that could manage most of this for me. And it was around the time that AIs were becoming quite good, like I don't know, GPT 3 or 3.5 when around that time. And so I
Yeah.
started sort of building this product and yeah, it was like sort of that's been the majority of my focus the last 2 years, basically.
And so can you show us and explain to us, what this does? I'm actually
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually gonna let me share the screen. Cool. Yeah. So this is, I guess, the logged in product.
yeah.
The product's called InboxZero. It's an AI assistant for email. Basically, the idea is that it manages your email for you the same way as a human executive assistant or VA would do it. I'll show you around a bit. But when you first get set up, we sort of give you lots of different categories in terms of how you can set up the product.
Yeah.
For example, we label all emails that need a reply, different
Oh.
newsletters,
So
marketing
AI
email.
so AI is doing labeling, or how is
Yeah,
that?
exactly. So it's just like organizing it all, and the outcome will look something like this, where it's like, okay, I have 3 emails I need to reply to today. A lot of
I see.
inboxes, they'll get 100 emails a day, but only 3 of them actually matter today. And so we sort of want to surface that, like just find, like remove all the noise, and just give
Yeah,
you what you
okay.
actually care about. And yeah, to be clear, it works with Gmail. So this app, like you use it for the setup, but everything runs in the background with Gmail. So here you can
Yeah,
see
you
a
don't have to
screenshot
log
of the
into a
real,
separate app. Okay.
pardon?
You don't have to log into you don't have to open a separate app every day. It's inside Gmail. That's what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. Like the
Yeah.
general setup is in InboxZero, like this website,
Yeah, yeah.
getinboxzero.com. But then once it's set up, and so yeah, we have some defaults. There's this like we try and make it easy for people, but then the product has a lot of customizability. Another thing we do is any emails that need a reply, will AI draft a response for you if you
Yeah.
want this. Um, so yeah, like this works to varying degrees on like depending on the type of inbox. But if you like often like you'll have a draft just ready there to like just hit send, maybe you'll adjust it a bit. The AI will try and come up with a response for you without you having to do anything. This is a new feature, which actually if you're using the product today, you won't see this yet unless you turn it on in the early access features. But
Okay.
something we've
Oh, so
we're releasing
you
very
have the
soon.
ability for people to turn that on. That's really cool. To have early access features. I think that's a cool thing to offer.
Yeah, yeah, and it's here for people that want it, but it's like I don't know if how like people using Posthog, but they're like very little effort. Like a lot of the features I release these days, especially if they're bigger, I'll first put them into early access and sort of like you can like toggle them on and off basically, and then when I'm like comfortable enough with it, I'm like I'll release it to everyone.
That's awesome.
And
That's awesome for power users, and that's awesome for you to kind of like beta test it, I guess. So
yeah,
that's quite
exactly. It's
cool.
almost like a staging environment, but it's like on the real thing. So I can test it on my own account and like really like sort of like get a feel for it on like a real inbox, and others can as well and give feedback. And yeah,
That's cool.
Postdog makes it really easy. Like in the past, I would never have thought to do something like this, but it's really not a lot of lines of code. These just like I add like a new feature in Postdog, like mark it, and yeah, it's pretty minimal effort to do each time.
So
Also, we
that's
even
so
have
you're
like a
using
cursor rule.
Posthog for this. That's interesting because it's to me that sounds like super advanced, big enterprise thing, but that you're doing it on an indie product. I think that's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like one of those things I would be like, no, you don't need that on an indie product. Like, but I guess I added it, and it was just like very, very minimal. And now any like new feature we do want to like release in that way, we even have like a cursor rule where we just like tag the cursor rule, like, hey, make this early access, and it just does it very easily.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, I
not really
see.
a lot to it, but we were using post hoc anyway for A/B testing, and it works in a very similar way to that. So
Exactly. Yeah, I looked into Post-Hoc for analytics of LaunchDay, but then I'm like, no, it's too complicated. But I saw they had all of these insane features. And I think that's cool also for like people to like, if the power users can feel a bit special, it's always cool. Like you give them a little something, you give them more, you make them feel involved, they have early access to things. It's cool. Like it makes your fans even more involved, I think.
yeah. I probably don't push it enough. Like we don't like announce it over email is like when there's a new feature. It's like at least not in the early access. It's more
I see.
people that find it randomly.
Okay.
But yeah, like yeah, that could be a smart approach to make people feel special. Be like, hey, like if you want like something new is just
And
launched.
so what are some features that you're really happy about, excited about? What's the thing?
Yeah, so this one is like sort of one that is like coming out, which is like basically we can like let's say you get 20 newsletters today, we can like bundle them all up, archive them, like they skip the inbox. So your inbox doesn't have any of these newsletters in, but we give you like one long summary email, which looks something like this. So we can clean your inbox with it and then give you like, instead of 20 emails, we just give you one summarized email. And so this is like quite an
Oh,
exciting one that's just like
it
launching
is
very soon.
interesting. I've never heard of that. Yeah, really cool.
And yeah, like the product itself, it gets like a little bit like more complex. Like once you dive into it, you can really set it up however you want. So like we have these different personas. If you're a founder, maybe this is how you'd set it up. But you can really write whatever you want. But let's say I want to forward all the receipts to my accountant, or I want to label
Mm,
everyone on my team as like sort of a team email. You can really like sort of, yeah, let's say you're an inbox, like a support inbox or an influencer inbox, you keep getting the same emails in every day, so you can really like set it up so it just like sort of manages the email for you automatically. For repetitive inboxes, there's a lot of power basically where you can just sort of train it like you would a personal assistant. You can have like a document that this document basically explains to the AI how it should manage your inbox.
mm. It's like cursor rules, but like
Yeah,
for your.
exactly, cursor
That's
roles.
cool. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, that was like the initial inspiration. And there is like more of a this is a demo account, so it has like loads of different things in it
Yeah.
and looks a bit messy. But yeah, like you have like sort of more specific things as well you can set. Like there's like these real like individual rules and like this like prompt file, which is like a cursor rules type file. So like yeah, they sort of work together.
Yeah, general thing. Wow, man, cool. So you got how is it going so far? Like, do you have some users already? When did you launch this? Is it a
Yeah.
recent product?
Yeah. I mean, and by the way, just like other features, like the core features, the AI system, but we like block cold emails. We have this bulk unsubscriber as well, where you can like,
Yeah,
like
okay.
archive, like or unsubscribe very quickly. You can see like, hey, I only read like 8% of Morning Brew emails in the last 3 months. Like, I'm just gonna like
Oh, that's a
unsubscribe.
nice idea. Yeah, how many emails you read, so then you can automatically remove them. That's cool.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
so you said it lives in Gmail, but like the site is quite full. It's like quite a bunch of cool things on your website as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I should say, so the assistant itself, that like the setup and what you saw, like this cursor, like rules document type thing, this like, I guess this lives here, but like once it's set up once, it's just everything it's doing is running in your regular Gmail. You don't need to log in here every day.
Yeah, I
The
see.
bulk unsubscribe feature does like live in this product, I guess. And that's also like something you might come to, like when you first sign up, and then once every few weeks or so, you might unsubscribe from more stuff.
And
Uh,
so what's the is it your main product? Is it like the main thing you're working on now?
yeah, it is. In terms of what you asked a second ago, 14,000 people have signed up for the product. There's a few hundred
Yeah.
paying customers. Of those, it's growing steadily right now. I also recently took money from Tiny Seed, if you've heard of them. So they're like an accelerator for like
Okay.
bootstrappers, basically, where there's no like
Okay.
pressure to become like a billion-dollar company, but they want to build like big businesses, but like multi-million-dollar businesses
I
or
see.
businesses that sell for tens of millions, not necessarily like, yeah, $1 billion.
I see. Yeah, I've heard of that. Uh, there used to be something called maybe Tiny Fund or Calm Fund. There was a bunch of things like this, like
Yeah,
tiny.
exactly. Calm Fund. Yeah, he had another name before. Yeah. I was in touch with them as well. I don't think that runs anymore, but similar concept, basically, like funding. Like, I think there's a great market for like funding these types of businesses. And yeah, there's like a lot of good, like what we
And
see
so
on Twitter,
how
like
does that
businesses
work?
making
Like,
like tens of thousands in MRR, which are good businesses to fund. They have a different risk profile to like a VC backed
yeah, I
business.
was gonna say it's different than VC. Like, what's the how would you explain the difference?
Yeah, so I mean, it's up to the big difference is like I think the valuations you'll get from like these sorts of things like Tiny Seed. I mean, it's an accelerator, so you'll get a low valuation, but they get like I guess like they get between 10 and 12% of the business for anywhere between $120,000 to $220,000. That
Yeah,
like sort of varies by company. They don't expect you to like have to raise like another round. I think around 30% of tiny seed companies do go on to raise more money,
I
but
see.
that's not like the focus of it at all. It's just like, how do you grow this business to like, how do you get to that next level? How do you get to $1 million ARR rather than like, and you can shoot for like smaller ideas where there is a good market for it. It's just
Yeah,
not like $100 million market type thing.
yeah. Okay, I see.
So that's like sort of, I would say, the main difference. And also, yeah, when you take VC money, is just like that pressure to really do something big. Like if you see an opportunity where you're like, oh, I can make $2 million a year doing this, and like there's a clear path to doing that, like that's not interesting for a VC backed business, even if you think there's like a 70% chance if you getting there.
Yeah,
But a company like an accelerator like Tiny Seed, it was like, oh, 70% chance of getting to 2 million. It's probably not
that's cool for
like I
them.
made up those numbers, but that is a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
investment. It's just
For
not
them,
an
that's
investment a
cool.
VC would make,
Yeah.
but Tiny
Okay.
Seed would, let's say.
Because VC would be like, they bet they rather have 1% chance of making 1 billion, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, like they like if they can get like 1 in 10 of their companies to like be like a huge exit, like the model is just it covers everything else.
Yeah, I see.
But if you're in, there is like a whole group of businesses where it's a like $20,000 a month business. That's not a business that's going to die, and so it doesn't matter so much to Tiny Seed if the cap on that business is $100 million. But there's probably like a clear path. There's like low risk in terms of that business could always be sold off. Let's say you're 20K a month business, that could be sold off for $1 million or so. So the
Yeah.
downside protection for the investors is like quite good. Like they could always get their money back if it sells for $1 million. They get their,
Yeah. Which I
150K
guess when
back
you
investment back. But like
and
a VC
VCs
is
they
like
don't
it's
care
just not
about
the
that.
model they're after. They
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of want all or nothing approaches
Yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
it has to be a massive exit.
I see, I see. Yeah. I'm I'm sorry, but it was only for indie products, and I'm a bit uncomfortable with that. I'm just saying exactly what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if I should publish it, if I should post it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I would say, by the way, I would still like when I have like, this is quite recent, honestly, in terms of like when I joined Time Seed,
oh
it's
yeah, okay. Yeah,
month
I
or so.
guess since the time I announced LaunchDay, you had time to get funding or something, but
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
first you didn't.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
also I would say I would still see myself like, if you look at all the tiny seed companies, like I would definitely see it as like more of like the indie hacker, like
But
every company in the batch
that's a
is
good
like,
point because like I know some other people like Damon Chen who does testimonials.com, and he just took a little kind of funding like you, like a small thing like this, but we still consider him like an indie hacker. And so that's an interesting case actually. And maybe maybe I will just put it up and let people watch this conversation and see what they think, because it's interesting, because I think I kind of like agree. Like for now, I was just super strict. Like, did you have external funding or no? Because it's just simple.
yeah.
Uh, but when you submitted, you didn't have any, and now you do. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I'm just curious, like, what's the? Because and also it somehow this doesn't make sense, because some people they are indie, but they are just loaded from something else, and some they have nothing, so you can have external funding that is not VC. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. I would say also like like let's say the InboxZero business, it's like almost I think 2 years old, honestly. Like 95% of that time is like you're like me like running it as like an indie hacker. So I do
Yeah,
like
yeah,
see it like more in that light. Like the
for
funding, we're not
sure.
talking about like $1 million of funding. It's under 200K.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's less than that. Like the number isn't public, but they asked not to share. But it's like it's not like it's not on that like VC path, like how do I make $1
Yeah.
billion? It's very like Tiny Seed is for exactly the companies that are like on launch day type thing. Like they might like take a little bit of money, but it's not like
Let me
it's a
check
very
out
different
Tiny
profile.
Seed.
Like a VC wouldn't invest in like most of the companies that Tiny Seed is investing in right now. Maybe down the line they do.
No, but that you know what? That's super interesting. I will put it up. You are still in. I will leave you in because I think that's interesting. Yeah, I'm still figuring this out, trying to find the good balance. And I was almost considering myself doing something like that because it can be so hard to, use your own money all the time. So that's interesting. So yeah, well, I'm glad actually because that's another part of this video that's interesting. Like, and so like let's just go fully into that then. So how did you get the funding from them? Like, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so like funding wasn't like on my mind. I never went out to fundraise. Like I do see myself like I was comfortable like sort of like funding the business. The main expense was just my time. Till
Yeah,
recently I didn't have anyone else working on it. I had like some interns and stuff, but like it was but 99% of the business was me. But yeah, I saw sort of Tiny Seed. It's a bit random how it came about. There's another one called Tiny, who you probably know. I've got Andrew
I've heard. I
Wilkinson, I think
think.
is the guy's name. And I was just like, look, he was like, he had a podcast episode where he was talking about a competitor and was like, oh, it like he runs Tiny, it has nothing to do with Tiny Seed, but that
Oh
sort
yeah,
of
Tiny. They buy the
yeah,
businesses.
exactly.
I think they bought like Dribble like 5 years ago. That's how I know them. I think.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, yeah, could well be. The one I know they bought like a long time ago was Meteor, which was like this development, like
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's why Meteor is still running, even though it's not trendy anymore.
yeah, yeah. Oh, so
Yeah,
you use Meteor?
no, but I remember it was so trendy. It was around the time a bit before React, I think it came out. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly. And then you could
Dribble,
use
yeah,
Meteor
Dribble is
before.
part of Tiny Seed, Creative Market. Yeah, I mean Tiny. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see. And we work remotely. This job board that was created by the guys at Basecamp a long time ago. So they bought it also. Interesting.
Okay.
Okay, keep.
But yeah,
Sorry.
so it actually had nothing to do with Tiny, but this is sort of just what triggered me to apply because they had similar names. And I was like, I'm not like trying to go for like endless funding, but I would definitely like take money if the investors were on board with like, this doesn't need to be $1 billion company. I didn't want
Yeah,
that pressure of like having to like grow the business beyond its means. If I can get to $1 billion one day, like amazing, but like that's not sort of not the path I'm taking. And so there's not that many investors around that are like comfortable with that model. There were some investors actually randomly I was speaking to that were comfortable and I almost took money from them, but it didn't work out in the end. But yeah, it was like I never sort of went down the fundraising path for InboxZero. But like if there was like money I could take in quickly and like sort of give me a little bit more breathing room on the business and allow me to move a little bit faster. So I figured like why not? I can still do exactly what I'm doing now. I give away
yeah.
10 to 12% of the business. And so it seemed like only upside, not that much downside. And so yeah, it was sort of like an easy choice for me. And there's a mentorship on the program. There's the network as well of other Tiny Seed
Yeah.
companies. You see another 15 businesses or 10 businesses you're doing the program with. So you get to learn from them as well. And everyone has ideas. So you've got like sort of that community aspect as well. So yeah, that's why I sort of decided to go for it.
Super interesting, man. This is making me think so much about this. Can you just stop sharing your screen,
Yeah, yeah,
please?
yeah.
Because I didn't find a button to do that. I think I can't. But anyway, uh, super interesting, man. I didn't expect this. I love when these conversations are like this. Like there's something new that I didn't expect. We show your product, and then there's this interesting story about funding, and this is making me think. Yeah, I could open it up, but like not to big VCs. I guess it's on a case by case basis. Like if it's just a seed, just the beginning or somebody just having some angel investors or something, I guess that's fine. And that's still because you do definitely have this indie vibe. And another person I really like is Marie, who lives in Australia, who is not on Twitter anymore, but she created something called Llama Life, which is this productivity app for people with ADHD. And I remember she took a little bit of funding, so she could hire one person for support, but she's still 100%. I mean, she still has such an indie vibe. So I think like this dichotomy maybe needs to be split a little bit differently. So that's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think 90% of like probably 99% of like funded like companies, like they are looking like to keep raising more and more money and like, you know, go down that path, like raise VC money and so on.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so someone like me or maybe Maria as well, it's just like that might happen one day, it might not, but it's like that I have no plans for that. I don't have like a pitch deck to raise money. It's like,
Yeah.
so that's why I would put myself in the indie camp basically. And the fact that like 90% of the business's life has been like just me like hacking like everyone else as a solo developer.
Yeah, it's very recent. No, for sure. Makes sense. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I hope it's going to make people think about it also differently. I think that's an interesting topic. So, well, thank you, man. That was awesome. So it was really good to meet you and see your product. So good luck with your launch day.
Thank you.